Alright guys, so I'm in the midst of my water change. I'm refilling the tank at this point, and I've learned to never leave that unattended or I have a accidental flooding. So everyone's out. I threw some frozen food in here, and that's frozen brine shrimp, and so everyone's out yumming on that super tasty, that's like fish candy there. Versus their staple flake food. And then here's all the Siamese algae eaters hanging out. The Cories are out. I put some sinking pellets in there. I try to put in some fresh veg every week, but I haven't got to the store yet, so I don't have any zucchini to feed them. You see there was a fish that just swam in the back and she's now gone. That's my Otocinclius. I don't think I was able to spot her last video. You can see the giant pit. I decided to leave it for them since they work so hard, whoever dug that. Although I did plant some of this plant from my shell deller aquarium. This is like a cardinal plant of some sort. I'd have to find the tag to know exactly what it is. I thought I'd try it in here. I like its leaf structure, but I haven't seen it grow how it's supposed to because the shell dwellers just dig it out, so it ends up floating. So I thought I'd give it a go because I could always cut back the wisteria and let maybe that other plant grow in here or move some of it over there. There's always places for some higher up in the tank. You see the cardinals and that one neon, poor neon all by himself. So here's the little Otocinclius. She's about an inch and a half. Oh, there's two of them. There's the male and the female. Used to have a ton of them in here, and you like never see them because they're so small and the tank's really heavily planted. You can see them next to each other. They like to hang out. They do best in a giant school, but they're hard to keep alive. So you buy them and they're caught wild, and nobody tank raises them that I know of, so they're they just have a hard time in the aquarium. Plus they need aquariums that are really algae based, like they eat algae and the small crustaceans in it, so they need really well established aquariums, and a lot of people buy them as their first fishies. And there's the female, so I guess those were two are the boys. So there's at least 3 in here right now. So that probably means there's like 10. You just never see all of them at once. And the Cories. So the Cories I put sinking pellets in, but they'll also eat some of that brine because they eat decaying matter as well. So they're gonna get really happy once they start finding some of that brine shrimp that's sunk. Okay, well, time to turn the water off. Hold on. As soon as it starts going down to the sump, we know we need to turn it off. We don't want to overflow down here either. So this sump is on a switch. I put it so everything is on this one switch, and it'll kick it back on. And the water level will drop down there as it goes up here. Take this python out. Python's really nice, except I have to clean my sink before I use it, otherwise this is usually full of dirty dishes, so nothing else fish tanks cleaning makes me have to do my dishes. Although I found I can't run my dishwasher while I'm doing fish tanks. Too much water is being used. So then once we're done here, I close everything up. These guys still have more food. It's just now with the water current on, you can see that like the piece of frozen would just float away. That's why I like to feed that when I'm doing water change, because the pumps aren't on at the time. I almost feed all my fish during water changes. I'll walk you back to the other tanks. So I will tell you, most times when you do water changes, your tank actually looks really messy afterwards. So this little guy got a water change, and I spotted him earlier, but he probably won't come out for the camera. But I also added some just random plants in there that I pulled out of the big tank. And then the shell dwellers got a water change. And I also messed with their filter, so their water's a little cloudy from that. But they also got live micro worms, which is their favorite food. So they're still chowing down on that. You'll see them take little bites at what looks like nothing on the camera is actually just micro worms. So that's the plant that I put in the 75, and you can see in the last video this was all planted here, and they decided they didn't like it, so it is now no longer planted there. There's just the 2 pieces in the pot. But you can see that leaf structure is really nice, how it usually grows straight up, and that's what I'd like to see happen in the 75. So that's why I moved some of it to it. Like when it's growing floating, it's just all a jumble, which is great for the fry because it gives them somewhere safe to hide and to get food closer to the surface, but it's not really super attractive. Now, when I was doing maintenance on this one, it's been running for, this is week 3 now. I thought about cutting back the wisteria. So this is a stem plant, so you just kind of cut it off and then replant the bit below. But I figured that could wait to next week or next water change. I usually do my water changes every other week. This tank's been getting a little bit more often just because it's a new setup, even though it's completely cycled. That filter and all those plants came, all the shells, that all came, even the substrate, the black substrate that's now kind of mixed in amongst all the new white stuff. That all came from that little tank. And so it's complete, like it's completely cycled, even though I've got a different filter on there as well. Someday soon, I don't know if this will be able to see it. Can I turn the flash on? I don't know if I can. Well, you can't. What you can't see down here, my feet, is that there's a 20 gallon that I'm going to work on getting set up for a sump, which will make doing water changes on this tank even easier, because one thing with this type of fish is you can't gravel back. I mean, like, you would suck up all the little babies, they would get really mad. So there's not a lot of vacuuming in the tank itself that can happen. So it's really important to have a good water flow so that it'll kick up and not have big sedimentary deposits. And I can do kind of small vacuumings in like areas. I do some around the rocks here, on the filter. There's a kind of dead spot in the back in that driftwood and back here. Then I can do a little bit, but I don't do a gravel vacuuming. In fact, most of my tanks don't get gravel vacuuming because I have sand, and the sand will just get sucked up. And that's hell on your sink pipes, and your landlord gets pretty unhappy about it. So a lot of these, they get bigger water volume changes. But with the sump down here is that you can actually just suck the water from there, and you don't even have to mess with the display fish. So you get a lot of the shell dwellers, and I hope to put a top schooler in here that if those are combined, they're gonna not really like the siphon in their tank. So this tank maintenance, all I did this week was I moved, this is the air pump for the filter that's in the tank, and so I took the pads out and I rinsed them out in the water being sucked out of the tank. So that's why it got a little cloudier. I did that in the beta tank as well. I actually did some major work in the beta tank, which just makes it a complete mess. Like my house. Actually, it doesn't look so bad. This was super cloudy. I did a lot of vacuuming. This substrate just puts out a ton of mold. It just slowly degrades. And you can see like right here how there's like a layer of it. And so I just did some extensive vacuuming in there. And you can see on the leaves, some of the stuff that got kicked up has fallen in there. And then I replaced the filter pads here. I added some more media to the 2 chambers there. and I then changed this for a new piece of polyfill. So lots of filter work, and whenever you mess with the filters, whether it's internal or external, it just kicks up a lot of sediment. So these will look all nice and beautiful and crystal clear in a couple hours, but I think one thing they never show you on tutorials on Facebook is how bad your tank will look right after a water change. It just doesn't look amazingly beautiful. But the fish are happy. See all the reservoir hanging out together in the current, and the cardinals. So everyone's pretty stoked. They got full bellies of brine shrimp. The Corys are working on their algae wafers. And we got the new plant to check out. So I have ordered a bunch of new plants for this tank. They should come sometime this week, or this tank and a couple other tanks. So I will keep you guys posted on how they look, and I'll show you them when I plant them, and I might do a little tutorial. But everyone's happy. It wasn't a trimming day in here. Probably will happen next week. That wisteria tends to need a lot of pruning. But you can see all of the Siamese alligators. Just can't get over how big they are. I need like another really big fish to make up for how giant they are in comparison to everyone else. Thank goodness they're peaceful, huh? Otherwise they'd be like ravaging the whole tank. Alright, see you later.